I wasn't the one speaking anymore. I could see my reflection in the mirror, but the lips moving. They weren't mine. They looked like mine, but I wasn't the one talking. And worse, I was starting to forget which one of us was real. It started a week ago when I moved into a cheap apartment downtown. Too cheap, the kind of price that makes you wonder what's wrong with the place. But I was desperate. No job, no money, and no choice. The apartment was old, with warped wooden floors and flickering lights. It smelled like dust and something stale, like a place no one had lived in for a long time. But I didn't care. I just needed somewhere to sleep. At first, it was nothing, just small things. My reflection felt off. Not in a way I could explain, just a little delayed. I'd raise my hand, and for a split second, I felt like my reflection wasn't following me. It was catching up. I chalked it up to exhaustion. Maybe my brain was lagging, or maybe I just needed more sleep. Then, one night, I got up to use the bathroom. Half asleep, I walked past the mirror in the hallway. I wasn't even looking at it, but I saw something wrong in my peripheral vision. I wasn't facing the mirror, but my reflection was. I stopped. My heart pounded. Slowly, I turned my head, forcing myself to look. My reflection stood there, perfectly still, staring straight ahead while I stood sideways. Then, so fast I almost missed it, he moved. Not like a reflection, like a person standing behind a sheet of glass. I didn't sleep that night. Over the next few days, I avoided the mirror. I tried to convince myself it was a trick of the light, or maybe I was just too tired to think straight. But then, the whispers started. At night, lying in bed, I'd hear them. Faint, almost too quiet to notice at first. I thought it was just my neighbours talking through the walls. But when I listened closer, I realised something chilling. It wasn't my neighbours. It was me, my voice, whispering from the bathroom. At first, I couldn't make out the words. It was just a low, murmuring sound, like someone talking to themselves. But then, one night, I stood outside the bathroom door and pressed my ear to it. The whispering stopped. A cold, heavy silence pressed against me. Then, right against the door. "Are you listening?" I jumped back. The voice was mine. I yanked the door open. The bathroom was empty, but the mirror was fogged over, like someone had been standing there, breathing against it. I didn't run. I don't know why. Maybe part of me still thought this was my imagination. Maybe I just didn't want to believe it. But deep down, I knew something was very, very wrong. I decided to test it. I stood in front of the mirror the next morning, staring at myself. I raised my hand. My reflection followed. I tilted my head. So did he. Then I started talking. "The sky is blue." My reflection repeated it back to me, perfectly normal. "My name is Alex." Again, my reflection said it in sync. "I like coffee." No delay. Nothing strange. Maybe I'd imagined everything after all. But then, "The phone will ring in 3 seconds." My reflection said it first, before I did. A sharp, cold fear stabbed through me. 3 seconds later, my phone rang. I stared at it, my hands shaking. I didn't pick it up. I didn't have to. Because when I looked back at the mirror, my reflection wasn't copying me anymore. He was smiling. Want to know what happens next? I covered the mirror. I couldn't stand to look at it anymore. I taped newspapers over it, blankets, anything I could find. But the whispers didn't stop. Every night, I'd hear my voice coming from beneath the covers. Soft, muffled, but unmistakable. You can't ignore me forever. I tried to throw the mirror away. I yanked it off the wall, carried it outside, and smashed it into pieces on the pavement. I watched the shards scatter across the sidewalk. It was gone. I let out a shaky breath and walked back inside, and froze. The mirror was hanging right back on the wall, perfectly intact, and in the reflection, I wasn't there, only him, smiling, waiting.